So you want to learn UX, but what are the basics? Hey everybody, it's Christine Maggi, Design Gal. Thanks for checking this out. This is sort of a follow-up to my last video where I talked about the basics you need to know for UI design. Today I want to talk about the basics you need for UX design. So I'm talking about this as a separate thing from the UI video. A lot of you want to know about sort of a combined role UI and UX, so in that case, watch both. If you're just interested in user experience and less on the actual user interface, visual design side, this video is specifically for you. I wanted to put these videos together to sort of give you a high-level list of things that you can try to learn on your own if you want to get into this. I'm definitely a list person, so I appreciate having a clearly defined set of things that I need to go after or check off. So that's sort of the format of this. First things first, you have to know the process of UX design. I do have a video that covers this in more detail. As I'm learning more and more about UX as a whole and actually getting more UX experience in my own career, I will probably update that video at some point just to give you more detail as far as what happens when you're especially on that UX research, user testing kind of side. But that should give you a good overview for now. Once you understand the process, the thing you should start to look at is what makes a good user experience. To me, it always almost comes down to, is this useful? Does it give me value? And is it easy to use? There's a very famous book on UX called Don't Make Me Think, and I think about that a lot when I'm designing. How do I actually come up with something where the user, it's just so seamless and it's so intuitive that the user does not have to think much to use it. So in addition to being easy to use, is it accessible? Does it matter to me? Is it relevant depending on my context, where I'm at, what I'm doing? All these things make a good user experience. So learning about those big overarching themes as far as good UX, it's gonna help you in your thinking and when you're designing, coming up with the ideas that are gonna be really good for your users. The next thing I think you should know is how to research, how to learn about your users as much as possible. Where are they coming from? What are they doing? What are the problems that they have? Who are they, just in general? What age are they? What do they do for a living? What gender are they? What are their interests? What are their problems that they run into? What are the things that they know a lot about and what are the things that they don't know a lot about? So learning how to really peel back all those layers and combine your research into something that's concrete, like a persona, for example, analyzing data that you may receive about your users or about the problem you're trying to solve. That research part of the process is so critical. It is the foundation of everything going forward. So it is so important to understand how to do that, how to sort of read between the lines, and how to ask the right questions to get the information that you need. The next thing I think you should think about is how to think of things in terms of a system. So for things to be seamless and easy to use, they have to have a system behind it. Not only a strategic vision that has to align with the business goals, not only something that's going to meet the user need, but a system that works together. One thing that helps a user understand how to use a product is if it's consistent. If this color on this screen means one thing, it doesn't mean something else on another screen. When I see this kind of text block, I know that it means it's like a helpful tip, and that if I see that again within another area of the app, for example, it's a tip again. We do kind of talk about this when we talk about user interface components, component libraries, style guides, things like that, where the visuals are all sort of in a system. But even beyond the visuals, thinking about the project and the problem that you're solving in terms of a large system that has multiple pieces that all work together somehow in a smooth, easy way is going to be really important. Another thing you should learn is how to iterate and be able to change your design and change things based on what you learn. Design does not happen in a vacuum. Things change all the time. New problems come up. Your users give you feedback you weren't expecting. You test something and what you did was way off the mark and no one knows how to use it. That's okay. It happens all the time. But you need to learn how to be able to pivot and to do something differently. Most of the time we call this iterating, which means basically refining and improving what you already had and continually changing it so that it gets better and better over time. And lastly, I think you should learn about the deliverables of UX. So something that you will actually complete and hand off to someone or just have as a finish step in the process. Some examples of deliverables for UX are things like sitemaps, if it's a website, information architecture, if it's an app or a piece of software. So how all these pieces sort of fit together in a system, like I talked about. Workflows or user flows, which means how the user is going to go from step A to B to accomplish their goal. So a deliverable on that might show every single step the user must take. One that you've probably heard about is wireframes. This is basically boxes and lines to sort of show the layout of a design. Really the backbone of every design is a wireframe. Having that structure in place for the visual design to go on top of, super important. And also personas, which I mentioned earlier, which is basically a collection of information that you know about a particular user type. You may have more than one persona. That's a deliverable that's very important, so that everything that you do, you can sort of look back at that persona and make sure that what you're designing actually meets the needs of this type of person. So those are the basics I think you should learn for getting started in UX. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or need more clarification, leave me a comment down below. Otherwise, I'd love it if you would subscribe and stick around for the rest of the videos in this series. I'm covering a lot of topics on getting started in UI, UX, product design, all of that. So stay tuned and I'll see you next time.